Hey folks, Jonathan here. Working on the engine a little bit. I've got my new cams in. I went ahead and bought two of them. A little dirty, but very good shape. And so now I've got 4 cams, 1 repaired. But so I've taken my best ones, and I'm sort of setting up here. And I know this may not be the right way to do it, and this may not be the way that some people would do it, but I can do the measurements, I can do the math, I can go from center to center. I've got a digital readout, I can come right over and drill the hole. My problem is this is a used gear. This is a new gear. I don't think I'm going to get it right, and with there being wear on the gear, if I go by the factory design, size and everything. So what I've decided to do, that's 3 1/1000ths shims that I've got in there, and I stacked them together. I put a piece of tape on it, and then above it, of course, and then I've got it down in there, and then I've just used a screw on each side, or a bolt. I've just got slid down in there, and that's just going to get my side to side measurement to keep it off the wall the same amount on each side. And I've got a 1/2 inch pin set up in here. I'm going to bring it around. We're going to center it down to where it needs to be, and then we'll pull it out, we'll drill it. And that's going to put me with a 3/1000ths backlash, and we'll just see how it works out. I mean, I don't know any other really good way of doing it, so that's what we're going to do. So I should have that drilled. I'll have a couple of pins in it, and we'll be able to roll it over and see how it sounds. Straight tooth gears, you're not going to get every bit of the sound out, but we just don't want it to run noisy. Don't need it to whine like heck. So, all right. Okay. I figured out a way I like better. I can feel the backlash in it, but I've just got the pin set up and got it ran all the way down. Got the gear down on it, and table in and out to set my backlash to where it sounds good and it has what I want in it. So I think we'll just do it like that. I might have to find a 1/2 inch spacer and bring this up off, because I know it's hitting that. It's running against that metal, so I think I'll get me a little shim, 1/2 inch, and just bring this up off of it a little bit, and I think it'll change the sound a little bit too. Alright, let me try that. Okay, this one's drilled. I just got a temporary end mill shoved in there backwards. Just using the shank for the to hold it for the pin, and then we've got this one in, and we're just rolling it over here. It's looking good. I think it's going to work out just fine, and we'll go ahead and get this one drilled. Then I'm going to cut this pin in half, and I'll double up on the pins, and then I'm going to use what I've got to make me a pattern for the cover. And we're going to go ahead and get to work on making the cover out of wood, and then we'll cast it out of aluminum, and we'll go from there. It's coming along though. It's going to be really tight in here with our lifters, but I may do this a little bit different. These originally ran a cam follower, which is basically, I'll try to explain it to you, but it's a plate that comes off of here and comes over, and it's pinned in it pinned in the center. And I've found a piece of spring steel here somewhere. I'll have to find the daggone thing or find another one. It would basically be a flat piece that come off of here, was pinned, and could move up and down. And what it is, it rides on this the cam load, and then your push rod comes down and comes against it. Now, or not your push rod, but your lifter. But the reason I'm thinking of doing that is the distance between here and there is quite a bit. It's about an inch, maybe an 1.8 inches. But if I run that cam follower, it's going to actually take any side load coming this way or this way off of the push rod, because all the side load will be on it, and it's pinned, and it pivots, so it's not going to hurt it. So if we run a cam follower on each side, we'll run 1 pin and 2 cam followers, then we can run through with our lifter, and just a lifter bore, And the reason we've got to do that, the reason we can't just run the push rod down through, is when that valve opens, it actually changes the angle of the push rod a little bit. So you can't have it running through a hole that, you know, solid, that we want to hold oil if it's going to be moving up back and forth. So we've got to run just, we'll run a cam follower, and then we'll run a lifter, and it won't have to be as hardened because the lifter's not going to run on the cam itself. The follower is what's going to have to be hardened, and that's why I was going to use spring steel, and I'll show you when I find it. But anyway, if I could find couple of the original brakes, I could probably use them, but we're going to end up having to use the darned spring steel, I'm sure. But we'll make them, and then we'll be able to run about anything we want through there for the lifter. I had some pieces here. I've moved everything around quite a bit, so I'll have to find them again of what I was thinking about using anyway. All right. Okay, let me add in here too. You know, of course, we're using the slinger for the oil, so I'm going to do something here. I'm going to bring in some holes from inside the case at an angle and try to get it inside the case where it will trap some of that oil and run it down into here. And then I'll come down through at the bottom and I'll draw a return hole coming back into the case. We're not going to, you know, try to depend on just this bearing to get oil over to here. We're going to make us some ports, and I hadn't discussed much about that yet, but I've got it planned in my head anyway about what I want to do. Okay, folks, we've got them in there, and as you can see, still nice and free, no binding or anything. I think it's going to be just fine. Rolling over really good. So, okay, we're caught on that. Now, I must have bad luck with cams because, okay, here's the one with the brass on it. And then we've got this one. You know, I bought two, so and it's hard to see, and I'm sure it's going to be hard to see on this camera, but if you can see the angle on that lobe at the top, that lobe is actually really worn. Let me see. Try to get you where you can see it. Just terrible lighting here. I've got a fluorescent light above me that just keeps going out. Okay, maybe you can see it there. Anyway, well, that should be a 90, you know, from the gear up. It's got a lot of wear on the inside, and almost looks like it was burning up. So anyway, so it's shot. So we ended up with the second one I bought, which was the extra, and it's made a little different. You can see all these other ones has got a concave in it, and this one don't. And the thickness is a little bit different. I think I don't know, I didn't check total thickness, but to get the gear level at the top, like I've got this one, I had to put two of my little shims behind it. I got hardened shims behind it that are 1/2 inch, and I'll pull it up. Maybe you can see them there. But anyway, and that'll keep the gear from hitting our plate, and here's the backlash in them. All right, we're going to get on that cover, and I think I'm going to get on the cam followers and see if we can come up with something for them. And the cam, or the push rod, or the, well, let's say the push rod guides may come part of the way into the cover. So we'll have the cover on when we machine down through, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. I mean, it's the cover's going to be thick enough, and you know, I didn't want this out anymore. I could have brought it out a little more, but I mean, I really didn't want it out anymore. But it's going to work out really good. You know, just we're designing as we go, so that's the way it is. But anyway, so that's good to go, and I think we'll be fine with our gears. So, and I'm sure once we get the cover on and we have them supported on both ends, you know, I know they'll be fine. But I mean, they're definitely not going anywhere where they're at. But yeah, we'll get the cover, and then we'll we'll do all the shimming we need to keep everything from walking back and forth in here. And we'll do the same. This there'll be a, like I said, there'll be a pin here, and there'll be 2 cam followers, one coming over and one coming over. And I may, have to just make them where they offset on the pin, and or interlock, you could say, so we can get both of them. And both of them's got to move up and down independently. And basically they just lay on top of that. And but they can't touch the face, and they can't touch the cover. So I mean, they gotta be pinned good and machined right. But all right, enough rambling. Let me get back at something. Okay, folks, what we have right here is a piece of spring steel, and anybody that's done brakes on a 2-ton truck will probably know what this is. But this goes on the piece that slides in that holds your caliper in, and it holds pressure on it. But it's definitely spring steel, and pretty darn hard. And sort of what I was planning. Let me get a piece of it here. It's still hot where I cut it, but was basically to go in like this. It'll sit on top of the lifter, and it'll have a piece on it, and it'll pivot here, at the pliers in there, and then our push rod will actually come down and touch the top of it. It's still going to be directly above the center of the cam, but what this is going to do is take any side load and wear off the end of our lifter, and it'll put all our wear on our spring steel, which is good and hard, and that way we won't have to worry about any side load on them lifters, holding or they're sticking that far down. So I think it'll work out good. We're going to try it, see how it goes. I turned this thing over with the impact, and with no rings in it, it's really tight. I got to hone it, but with no rings in it, it's building compression. When I put my finger over it, it tries to push the cylinder up off because I don't have my holes done yet for that. But anyway, that's what we're trying to get at here, is get something set up for these lifters. And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and do the cover out of wood and go ahead and get it casted and machined and all that happy crap. And anyway, I think I'm probably going to call it a night, call it a video. And I'm actually going to, it's still daylight, so I'm going to get my butt back out and it's cooled off a little bit and work on the rollback some. So anyway, all right, appreciate you watching, and we'll get more done on the next one. Bye.